She left without any drama, and somehow that made it all the worse. There was no shouting match, no slammed doors, no final fight to give the moment the weight it deserved. Just a short note on the kitchen counter, next to the coffee machine. The handwriting was so familiar, a script I knew better than my own. She wrote that she needed to find herself and told me not to wait. By the time I finished reading, her car was gone, and so was a huge chunk of our savings. For weeks, I was lost in a fog. I called her phone over and over until it just stopped ringing. I'd drive past places she used to love, secretly hoping I'd just bump into her, hoping I could force a conversation she had so clearly chosen to avoid. Our kids knew more than they let on, and their silence cut almost as deep as her disappearance. It felt like I was the only one left, standing in a life that everyone else had quietly abandoned. But time does what it always does. It moves forward, whether you're ready for it or not. The house, once loud and chaotic, became quiet, and then, surprisingly, calm. I stopped expecting her to walk back through the door. I started to notice just how much energy I had spent for years, holding everything together without even realizing it. The business kept running smoothly. The daily routines stayed the same. My life didn't collapse into a pile of rubble like I'd feared. It just changed shape. That's when I started to notice my neighbor. It wasn't anything dramatic at first. Just small, simple, human moments. A wave from across the street, a quick chat about the weather, an offer of coffee with no strings attached. She didn't ask me invasive questions or try to fix my problems. She just listened, and that simple act felt so unfamiliar, so grounding. Over time, our conversations grew longer. Laughter, quiet and unexpected, started to find its way back into my days. A full year passed without a single word from my wife. Then, one evening, my phone buzzed. The message that appeared felt surreal in its casual cruelty. She said she'd had her fun and was ready to be a wife again. No apology, no explanation. Just a casual assumption that I'd been waiting right where she left me, unchanged, available. I didn't reply. I had learned that sometimes silence is a complete sentence. The messages kept coming, each one more emotional, more desperate, more manipulative. She talked about family, about making mistakes, about how everyone deserves a second chance. But she never once mentioned the year she was gone, the money she took, or the damage she left in her wake. It became crystal clear she wasn't coming back because she missed me. She was coming back because whatever she ran toward had fallen apart. When she finally showed up at my door, unannounced, I didn't feel the panic I had imagined months earlier. I just felt calm, detached, finished. I didn't even open the door myself. Someone else answered it. Someone who belonged in my life now, not as a replacement, but as a choice. The look on my wife's face said it all. Reality had finally caught up with her, and she was not prepared. What came next was messy, but it was no longer confusing. Lawyers took the place of late-night arguments. Facts replaced flimsy excuses. Evidence replaced made-up stories. The truth has a weight to it that you just can't negotiate away. See, decisions made in secret don't age well when you bring them into the light. The divorce wasn't about getting revenge. It was about setting boundaries. I wasn't trying to punish her. I was protecting the new life I had painstakingly rebuilt, piece by piece, while she was gone. When all the legal dust finally settled, what was left wasn't bitterness, but clarity. I knew exactly who had stayed, who had left, and who had shown up when it really mattered. One of my children eventually came around, brave enough to finally admit what they'd known all along, and ashamed of the silence they had kept. We talked honestly for the first time in years. No taking sides, no manipulation, just the truth. That single conversation healed something inside me that I thought was permanently broken. Life moved forward again, but this time with intention. The mornings felt lighter, the evenings felt earned. Love came back into my life, not as chaos or an escape, but as stability and mutual respect. I learned that loyalty means absolutely nothing if it's one-sided. And forgiveness doesn't mean you have to reopen doors that were closed for very good reasons. Months later, I saw my ex by chance in a public place. She looked smaller somehow, as if the world had finally stopped bending to her will. We exchanged a few polite words, and that was it. There was no anger left to process, no closure needed. She was simply a part of my past, no longer entitled to my present. That night, I sat outside with the people who had chosen me and whom I had chosen in return. The air was quiet, and the future felt uncertain in the best possible way. I realized then that the worst moment of my life hadn't ruined me. It had redirected me. Sometimes being abandoned isn't the end of your story. Sometimes it's the very moment you stop being someone else's backup plan and finally start becoming your own first choice. Thanks for listening. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more.